So, welcome. I'm Gary Simon with Clean Start, and I'm here with our executive director, Thomas Hall. So, I got a question for you. EV sales slowing down, EV sales decline. What's reality? Because it makes it sound like we're not going to have as many sales this year of EVs as last.
Well, I can tell you we've already had more EVs sold in the United States this year than we did in all of 2022. Over 870,000 EVs sold through quarter three. In 2022, it was just over 800,000. So that's 873,000 sold through the first three quarters and 802,000 sold in the entire 2022. What might be going down is the rate of which EV sales are increasing. But year on year, EV sales for Q3 are up 49.8%, which is, I think, basically 50% improvement.
Yeah, I mean, 50% growth is amazing, and there hardly anything else that's that big a piece of equipment that's growing in sales 50% per year. So what are all these articles? They're just saying it's not meeting the over exuberant expectations of somebody. Actually, sales are still booming.
It is really about excitement. I think you're right on that. Is everyone was excited about EVs and they see, Tesla taking off and they're thinking, well, the same thing is going to happen to Ford and to GM. If you remember, Tesla went public in 2010, and it wasn't until 2018, 2019 that they started posting a profit. People point to Ford slowing down their investments and losing money on EVs. Well, if you go to Ford's slides, they describe their division as a startup. And you know what startups do initially? They lose a lot of money. And from an investment standpoint, that looks pretty scary. But when it comes to consumers, they are still purchasing EVs.
So, all right. So, I mean, maybe somebody was saying sales will double, and the fact that they're only going up 50%, they consider that a defeat. To most people, 50% growth would be a victory.
Yeah. And the fact that it's still 50% growth as the total number increases is great. In California, 25%, one in every four new vehicles is an electric vehicle. That's up from 18% the previous year. The rest of the country is lagging behind California, but I think that's where we've learned a lot on trying to get EVs to that level of adoption that we could actually help other states, and entrepreneurs should look for opportunities in.
Well, that and also charging. I mean, we have heard the problems on charging, and installations aren't going in as fast as possible. Is that a problem area, or is that another, just there's a disappointment in the rate at which it's increasing?
I'm going to put it in kind of two different areas. Is one, we do need more charging, and what that's going to look like, even after all this adoption in California, we still really don't know. There was an expectation that we would have more level twos. That's the 240 volt chargers that you see around, but those aren't going in as fast as we'd hope. However, there have been a lot of the DC fast chargers going in, but now the bottleneck on those is getting them repaired. People might remember from long ago when we've talked about EV charging, we talk about this chicken and egg problem where we're trying to go, what goes first, electric vehicles or the charging? California fully jumped in trying to do both.
Are there a lot of chargers that are not functioning?
No one really has a clear number on how many are not functioning, but if you're out there driving your electric vehicle around and you don't have a Tesla, you will run into broken EV chargers. Fortunately now, usually the next charger is not far away. I remember, years ago having an EV charger, and if you go to a place and they're broken, the next EV charger might be, 40 miles away, and that would be a nightmare scenario. But now, you go up and you discover chargers that are broken. There might be one, less than a mile away. So that is optimistic. With that, I'm optimistic because it's becoming more ubiquitous, but they're broken out there, and trying to find people to fix them has been an issue. Also, well, responsibility it is.
You've triggered two potential businesses there. One, telling people where the chargers are that are working versus broken. And two, what does it take to get more people in the business of going around and fixing them? So out of that comes opportunity.
I think there's a whole lot of opportunities, and California is the perfect test bed to try them out because 1 in 4 new vehicles are electric vehicles. And even though 1 in 4 are still electric vehicles, there's a lot of growth that needs to happen because that's still 3% of all vehicles in the state are zero emissions vehicles. So, that 25% really needs to get up a lot higher. And, the troubles that we're running into now, the bottlenecks, they're going to get more pronounced. And there's going to be a heavy demand to fix these things, to fix electric vehicle infrastructure, to repair it, and to build new electric vehicle infrastructure. Yeah,
Well, I see you've got your EV Revolution shirt on. So, from what you've said, I take it there's still a pretty robust growth in EV sales and EV chargers. While some may be broken down, the network's getting more dense. So, your shirt says you're still an optimist. Is that right?
absolutely. I'm absolutely a huge optimist on this because, you know, I've been there when it was worse, when it was really hard to find chargers and really hard to even find working chargers. And now it's become a whole lot easier. There's still a long way to go, but if you think about it, we're in that kind of early adoption, kind of takeoff phase of an adoption curve. It's no longer just the early adopters. It's no longer a niche sort of thing. And that's another thing, out there that I think that I'm really optimistic about is there in Sacramento, there's over 49 different EVs that were bought last year. That's really progress to me because back when I got my Nissan Leaf and started looking at electric vehicles, you had Tesla, you had the Nissan Leaf. There might have been occasionally a GM Spark. Kia had a Kia Soul that was electric for a very short period. There wasn't much out there to choose from on electric vehicles. And now, as there are more options, and next year there'll be even more, there'll be additional trucks beyond the two that are available now. So I think there's going to be continued adoption as people have more opportunities to select a vehicle that fits their life.
Well, and what you're also saying, another business opportunity is keeping those vehicles in good repair.
Oh, yeah.
There's going to be a bigger variety and more people out there that need to make sure they got a place to go. So fixing electric vehicles is another opportunity.
Fixing electric vehicles is going to be a bigger growth area than people realize. One of the selling points people have always talked about EVs is they say less maintenance. And I think when you're talking about the drivetrain, the batteries, and the brakes, I think that's very, very true. But all of the electrification of the vehicle brings all sorts of other amenities to the vehicle, which might break down and will need maintenance. It's weird. I always kind of put it this way, but I haven't seen a time where adding computers to things has made less total work. Maybe on a specific thing, it got easier and faster, but that just frees you up to do more things. And I think that's going to be true with the electric vehicle. And the other thing about this is that working on electric vehicles is very different than working on your standard ICE internal combustion engine vehicles. You can't smell danger, you can't hear danger. You can discover it, and that's quite shocking. But being able to safely work on these vehicles is going to be really, really important. And I expect that there's going to be more investment into that area because people like to work on their cars. And if you all of a sudden now have vehicles that are different than what they might have learned from their parents, they're going to have different sorts of education, which is why I'm excited about things like the Ideal ZEV program at CRP or their resources board, our local air district working on lowrider EVs that can have hydraulic systems so they can bounce and dance the night away.
Well, it's spreading everywhere. So there's a bit of a myth of some proportion that things are turning sour in the EV market. Actually, there's still a lot of growth and there's a lot of opportunity. So if you want to learn more about building businesses in the clean tech area, do go to our website, cleanstart.org, and sign up for the CEO Crash Course. It's a master class in how to build a successful clean tech startup without making a lot of mistakes. So next cohort starts in January. Take a look at it and see if it is something that you think you would get something out of. But in the meantime, thanks, Thomas, for going into all the research here and sort of straightening things out. So the fact check is still strong growth, also opportunities for a lot of things to have ancillary businesses in the whole infrastructure chain.
Oh yeah, things are looking up for EVs.
Okay, very good. Thanks so much for doing all that. And we'll see you on our next fact check and discussion between us. What's going on in clean tech?